In this video, we will provide you with a broad overview of the federal disaster process to help you determine key decision points. This video informs tribal elected officials on how to be prepared to make decisions in a disaster to serve and protect your people, communities, land, and economies. I'm here with Rochelle, who will help provide context to our processes. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi, Zuni. Thanks for having me.
So, Rochelle, why is it valuable for tribal leaders to know about the federal disaster process?
It is important for tribal leaders and elected officials to know about the disaster process because if they're trained in advance, it supports the emergency manager when you're already in crisis. It gives them ability to make those key decisions that need to be made in a timely manner.
And how does the disaster declaration process work with your tribe's sovereignty?
Trust responsibility with the federal government and FEMA being the face of that during disaster has to do with giving the tribes an option of how they want to address the disaster and the declaration. Do we want to do it at the closest local level? Do we want to work with the state or with our federal partners? And each community should have that ability to make that choice, and they do through the processes that have come through with the federal government. The disaster declaration process is set up to be able to support the tribe during a disaster by having direct service with the tribe and honoring their sovereignty as a nation. However, it also supports the ability to work with the county, the state, and with FEMA in a way that suits our community best. And that is important because we have a really good relationship with our county, the state, and FEMA, and depending on the disaster, we may want to choose.
So what if some of the disasters your tribe has experienced? What happened, and how did your tribe respond?
On an annual basis, the Tulalip tribes has really bad winter storms where we are often without power for several days. This is a threat to our community because we have elders who have critical needs and all of our families. So we respond to this by making sure we have a coordinated effort and we practice prior to the season to make sure that not only our departments can respond appropriately, but our communities prepare themselves.
And why do tribes care about emergency management?
We care about emergency management because it's really about the people. Tribes are there to take care of their people, and that's what emergency management does. We also are really invested in protecting our land and our culture, and all of this is really the basis of what emergency management is to us still currently.
Well, an element of trust responsibility is the federal government's role to support tribes when a disaster is beyond their capability to respond to and/or recover from. A tribal chief executive can request two types of declarations through the appropriate FEMA regional administrator: an emergency declaration and a major disaster declaration. Emergency declarations: the president can declare an emergency for any occasion or instance when a president determines federal assistance is needed to support tribal efforts and capabilities to save lives, protect property, public health and safety, or to lessen or avert the threat of a catastrophe in any part of the United States. Emergency declarations provide immediate, short-term assistance. Major disaster declarations: the president can declare a major disaster for any natural catastrophe or any fire, flood, or explosion, regardless of the cause, that the president has determined that has caused damage of such severity that is beyond the combined capabilities of tribal governments to respond to and recover from. A major disaster declaration may provide a wide range of federal assistance programs for individuals and public infrastructure, including funds for emergency work, permanent work, and mitigation. The federal disaster assistance process begins locally. And first, let's see how an incident affects the tribe. Tribal government activates their emergency plan and dedicates resources to respond. The tribe collects initial damage estimates to identify needs. Tribal governments determine that the needs remain after all of the resources, such as assistance from other federal agencies, volunteer agencies, and mutual aid partners, are exhausted. The chief executive requests joint preliminary damage assessments or PDAs from FEMA, or decides to participate in joint FEMA state preliminary damage assessments. Tribal governments review results of the joint damage assessments and determine whether Stafford Act assistance should be requested. If requesting Stafford Act assistance independently of the state, the chief executive submits a request to the president through the FEMA regional administrator within 30 days of the end of the incident. FEMA reviews the request and sends a recommendation to the president. The president then makes a determination, and FEMA notifies the chief executive.
We have always taken care of our people, land, resources, and surrounding communities. Understanding the federal disaster process will help us to continue to get the right support and resources we need to respond and recover from future disasters.
That's always been true for tribes, Rochelle. Continue watching the Tribal Recovery video series that outline key steps and decision points in the disaster process. For more information on the disaster declaration process, check out the FEMA Tribal Declarations Pilot Guidance on FEMA.gov. If you have questions, you can always reach out to your regional FEMA tribal liaison.